Aquiles Larrea, and we have our own Deirdre Bolton. So Deirdre, it's taken as a given that this deal is done.
Right.
The president will approve it, and on we go. What do you think?
It's taken it as a given, but I mean, we haven't heard a final word from him, right?
No.
And I think, we go back to December, and at the last minute in December, he changed his mind, and that's how we ended up with the 35-day shutdown.
You remember what happened then? A lot of conservatives revolted.
Yes.
They said, this is horrible, and he did a 180. He changed his mind.
Exactly. Now, Mitch McConnell is saying it looks good. Chairman Shelby is saying it looks good. So, I mean, there are a lot of voices from the party saying it looks good. But in my mind, no, it is not a done deal. I mean, it feels like it's moving in the right direction. But, calling it a barrier instead of a wall, I don't know if that's going to bother the president at the last minute. I don't know if the fact that the Democrats essentially dropped this sort of number and purpose of beds, but yet the number will be 17% lower than already exists. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. For me, it's not a done deal.
All right. We do know that the president would have to accept, John, $1.37 billion versus the $5.7 billion he requested at the time for 200 miles of wall. This is looking like it might be a third of that if he's lucky.
Yeah.
But he's still getting something.
A quarter.
Right.
He's a quarter of the funding, a quarter of the miles
right.
That he had asked for and that he had demanded. One assumes that the president right now is looking at this and saying it's a way out.
Right.
It is an off-ramp. The shutdown was blamed on the president primarily in polls. He doesn't want to go down that road again. He's busy now with the 2020 election, wants to focus on that. And he's got enough of kind of a fig leaf here that he can say, look, I'm going to view it as a down payment. It's a start,
right.
and we're going to get more. But I would imagine that we haven't heard from the president yet, as Deirdre pointed out. He's the one who did change his mind the last time, might change his mind again this time, assuming that he had been consulted on this all along. He may be waiting to hear what the reaction to this is on conservative talk radio from his base before he reacts to it. But one assumes
Sean Hannity, not a fan. I haven't heard from Rush Limbaugh, but already you're getting, some early indications from that group, not fans.
Yeah, but if he spins this the right way politically, the Democrats can claim victory, he can claim victory, and they just move on.
Right. Again, it's interesting when you look at the market. The market moved up very smartly throughout the shutdown. The market is moving up on this, potentially avoiding another shutdown. What is the market telling us?
At the end of the day, certainty is the market's friend. Like we're seeing today,
right.
Whenever we saw the agreement in place, we said to ourselves, okay, we're going to take baby steps to get in. But I know talking for my clients and saying, we want to see more, the devil's in the details when it comes to this agreement. The ink is not dry on this. The president hasn't signed off on anything. So is there a little uncertainty there? Sure.
Right.
But at the same time, we're going to position our clients for growth and for greatness, no matter the case, either way it goes.
You keep hearing that the backdrop the market's like, it's still the same. Very good earnings. They might be tested the quarter we're in, but they've been pleasantly surprised on the upside. Will they continue to be?
I think so. And then, of course, we can't forget this week is a huge week for our understanding with what's going on with China. So I think there is a little bit of optimism that some kind of framework. I mean, we've heard from lots of parties that, okay, there's not going to be an extension of that March 1st deadline. But in the meantime, the two sides are speaking. So between, fingers crossed, shutdown being averted and perhaps a framework being worked out with China, even if it's just an agreement to keep talking and just something that makes sense, we do see the optimism today.
All right. Yesterday I had a chance to speak with Steny Hoyer, the House Majority Leader, who seemed to draw even more distance with Nancy Pelosi on a host of issues, including the prospect of a shutdown. Take a look at this.
We didn't want wall money. We think that you need personnel, you need infrastructure, you need technology. We were just at the border.
Right.
Clearly, those are all necessary. But the fact of the matter is the president wants a wall. Okay, I've always said that that's probably going to be part of the agreement.
All right, and so it is. Now, earlier in the interview, he was saying that this sudden issue the Democrats raised about the number of detention beds that Deirdre was talking about, lowering to 16,500 when they've routinely been north of 48,000 beds. They've agreed on a figure around 42,000, but no one sticks to those figures. But that got the monkey off the president's back as far as finding a reason to reject this. or not. We don't know. But, John, I mean, that issue was raised at the last minute, but gives you an indication of the power of the left in the party that wanted to make it an issue, that wanted to make eventually even defunding ICE an issue. So this battle goes on within the party.
This battle goes on, and at the end of the day, it was kind of understood. We'll raise the number of beds by a smaller amount than DHS wanted. But we also kind of know, as politicians in the funding game, that DHS can move money around. Right. And if it needed to, it's going to put more beds in. At the end of the day, though, we do not have a broad consensus and agreement on how to address the immigration issue. Right. In all of its complexity between Democrats and Republicans, we have a tiny little stopgap measure that keeps the government open past Saturday. We also do not have the big, broad China agreement. And my suspicion is that you're going to see lots of fig leaves when this China deal comes through. The sense I'm getting from people who watch China, when I talk to them about people who have been USTRs in the past or in the USTR's office, or just people who are expert on China.
You're talking the trade representatives.
Yeah, the trade representatives in D.C. that China's not going to budge to the degree that the United States wants on this. It's going to be very interesting to watch how the market metabolizes that.
Right. You know, that was what I was curious about, Aquiles. What would make and how would the market react to a deal that doesn't address some of the substantive issues to which John just touched, intellectual property, some of these other more thorny issues that are a little bit more time-consuming. But they make a promise to address that. They buy more soybeans, buy more goods, commit to buying more U.S. cars. But that's it. It's like a fig leaf, but it's better than what we had. How would the markets respond to that?
Well, you just said it. We're talking about certainty in the market. We have to make sure, no matter what happens with this deal, that certain parties are winning. My lawyer used to tell me a long time ago, the best part of any negotiation is the fact that either party feels like they've walked away with something. For my clients personally, who are Latinos, they say, you know what, we're not 100% on this wall. We're not in favor of it, but at the same time, we need more information. We need to know if is it in our best interest, and either way, we're going to make sure that we're ready, either side of the fence.
But would the markets accept, you know, kind of a weak deal? In other words, some commitments, some promises, but not.
They may not have a choice, Neil. At the same time, you need to have. You can't have the uncertainty that we had with the shutdown,
right,
and where all sectors were being affected and possibly sending the market into a slower economic slowdown.
So the market just wants this uncertainty put aside. That some deal is better than no deal, even if it's not a great deal.
Sometimes the market doesn't care, and it's going to do whatever it decides to do. The thing is, you have to be ready on either way to position yourself for that greatness.
Deidre, the president is saying right now in this cabinet meeting that he can't say he's very happy about the immigration deal. He says he will have a meeting on the immigration deal later on. Didn't tip his hand where he would go with this. We might find out in the proverbial pool spray. But he's not necessarily saying yay or nay at this point.
Right. And I mean, in some ways, I sort of felt for him last night, right? He shows up in Texas and he essentially got scooped by his own party. Now, obviously, he's representing that party, right, but the news broke and he kind of gets on stage for this big moment and he doesn't even have the details, right? Which he made very clear to the crowd. Listen, I think anybody who is a federal employee who works for one of those 9 departments, who has already dealt with a 35-day shutdown, would very much like to avert this. But I mean, it has to go to vote, right, pretty shortly. In other words, to avoid this Friday shutdown. I mean, the clock is ticking. It's pretty quick, right? Yeah. And we did hear Mitch McConnell say, yes, we will take this to the Senate in short order. But yeah, we'll listen to the president.
We'll listen to the president.
Ball's in his court.
And cameras are in the cabinet room right now, so we might get an idea exactly what the president will do. He has very little time to do it. Some have said that he has to decide on something by tonight if they're ever to make the deadline to get this done by Friday. We shall see. The Dow up 327 points. We'll have more.